Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mharti Elye Wiranto. I'm from English Education Study Program 8 Class 2023 and I'm going making this video to fulfill course assignment literal reading.
A few moments later.
Everyday life in the Soviet Union, the shopping ran around. The author Hedrick Smith was head of the New York Times office in Moscow from 1971 to 1974. The following passage is adapted from Mr. Smith's book, The Russians, which was published in 1976 by Quadrangle or the New York Times Book Company. 1. I had heard about customer shortages before going to Moscow, but only when we began to shop there did the Russian customers' problem really have meaning for me. Customers the world overweight in lines, but Soviet lines have a special quality all their own. Typically, the Soviet women spend 2 hours a day in line. 7 days a week. Personally, I have known of people who stood in line 90 minutes to buy 4 pineapples and 3.5 hours to buy 3 large heads of cabbage, only to find the cabbages were gone as they approached the front of the line. Lines can run from a few yards to nearly a mile. Some friends of ours watched a line of people in Moscow signing up to buy rugs. The line lasted 2 days and nights and ran for across all through an apartment development. 2. In spite of all of this, the natural reaction of a Russian woman when she sees a line forming is to get in it immediately, even before she knows what is being sold. However, Soviet lines are more fluid than they appear. In most stores, for example, shoppers must stand in not 1 but 3 lines for any purchase. The first to select a purchase and find out its price. The second to pay a cashier somewhere else in the store and get a receipt, and the third to go pick up the purchase and turn in the receipt. 3. But in a dairy store one morning, I found out that the game is both simpler and more complex than that. I went in to buy some cheese, butter, and bolognese sauce, which were in 3 separate departments, each with its own lines, 9 lines. 4. Rather quickly through, I noticed that experienced shoppers were skipping the first stage. They knew what most items cost, so they went directly to the cashier for the receipts. After studying price, I did that too. Then I went to the cheese line, the longest, probably 20 people, to get the worst over with first. I was in line less than a minute when the woman in front of me asked me to hold her place. She darted off the butter and milk line. The cheese line was moving so slowly. Then she got her butter and milk and returned before we had advanced 3 feet. I decided to take the risk too, and I got back when my butter while the cheese line was still inching along. 5. Then it suddenly occurred to me that all over the store, people were getting into line, holding place, lying, retiring. Everyone was using the cheese line as a home base. That was why I was barely moving it, kept expanding in the middle. So I got the man behind me to hold my place, and I went off to buy my bologna. Once again, it worked. It took me 22 minutes to buy butter, sausage, and cheese, but instead of being furious, I felt as if I had beaten the system. 6. This competitive shopping gives an atmosphere of tension to Russians' life. People barge into store and bump into each other with faces said it combated expression. You have to understand, said a kind gray-haired person, that for as long as we can remember, shopping has been a struggle. Life is a struggle. 7. There is hardly an effective adverse thing to help shoppers. Americans complain about the constant commercial in the United States, but they might consider if they were exposed to be customer blackout in Russia. A typical Soviet ad might be if you want to live to a ripe old age and be beautiful, modest throughout and truthful, drink tea. Most newspapers publish without ads. The shoppers has no handy yellow pages or daily newspapers, supermarket or department store ads to help her decide where to shop. 8. Bribery is widespread, low paid, 80 dollars to $20 monthly. Sales clerks takes a portion of attractive items and sell them secretly to regular customers who have either left a bribe in advance or can be counted on to pay a high price on delivery. 10 to 15 rubles on a 60 ruble raincoat in standard. In 1976, the ruble was equivalent to $1.32. 9. So common in this practice that the Soviet press is always complaining about it, but it doesn't do any good. Crocodile, the Soviet humor magazine, once showed a department store employee promoting some newly arrived items. Dear customers, in the leather goods department, 500 imported women's purchases have been received. 450 of them have been bought by store employees. 49 are under the counter and have been ordered in advance for friends. One purse is in the display window. We invite you to visit the leather department to buy this purse. Okay, I think that's all for me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.